Hey, here we are again, another episode of Middle Class Mindset. Today we're going to be talking about the purpose for the middle class. I think a subject matter that no one really has even touched on. We touched on a lot of different aspects of middle class in terms of financial stuff, in terms of crises and everything in between, but we never really touched on the purpose, and I'm going to try to touch on the purpose in this episode in just a minute. Check it out. All right, today we're talking about the main purposes for the middle class, which is going to be a very interesting lesson. I thought about before I shot this video to change shirts, but for some reason the blue is popping, so I'm gonna stick with that. So blue it is. It's just so we're talking about the four purposes of the middle class. And before I get into the purposes, because if I hit you with the purposes first, it really don't give a strong enough explanation, in my opinion, as to why I say those things. So we're going to talk about the four unfortunate realities first. Before I get into the purpose, let's talk about the realities, because the middle class is a subject matter that's talked about, whether from a financial thing of how much people make, or the crisis, or how the middle class is shortening and disappearing and all this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, we got millions of people still out here working hard, trying to build a life for yourself. What you talking about is disappearing. I'm still around, you still around, I mean, I see truck drivers and regular workers all day long. I mean, what are you talking about is disappearing, according to what? But anyway, I digress. That's my opinion. But the perspectives are out there. But nobody is cluing us in on what's the real purpose. If we had to boil down, what is the purpose of middle class? If you're going to break different things into poverty, middle class, rich, wealthy classes, then what purpose can I find on this class called middle class? Okay, let's dig into four unfortunate realities in order to get to the purpose. The first reality about middle class that we all just got to come to grips with is just it is what it is. The middle class, we pay more taxes, right? So we are like the tax dumping station. I mean, it's like when they think about taxing anything, it hits the middle class very hard. That's one unfortunate thing about our level, when it comes to grocery tax, gas tax, street tax, toll tax, house tax, clothing tax, re-tax. I mean, it's like we feel it on the middle class, I believe, more than anybody else level. We feel it because whenever there are taxes, middle class people feel it. Listen, that's just an unfortunate reality of our level that we're on, of the class that we're on, that if you don't take a breath and realize that it's just the way it is, but at the same time, that's not all it is. All right. Okay. So we pay more taxes. Taxes affect us differently, right? And I want to go to the next one, but I never like to leave it negative like that. I like to kind of give a solution. Listen, the solution to beating back taxes is always taking higher ground. Okay, so when you take higher ground, what does that mean? If you start a home-based business, right? A home-based business, and you get into that particular sector, those things can help you start to combat the taxes that's on middle class just by starting a home business, just by starting any kind of business, legitimate business. You can be able to fight back. But in order to beat taxes, you got to take higher ground. You can never stand toe to toe with taxes and expect to win. You have always got to have the higher ground in order to get the best of taxes. So that's why the rich class, the wealthy class, they pay less taxes. It's because they're on higher ground. You get it? I mean, I feel like that's a simpler way of saying it, but I want to give a positive statement So you realize that there is hope. Next, the middle class, we are the workforce of the economy. We are the workforce. When there's a big name CEO or a big name person that's out there in any genre, any of them, you can name any of them. You can go into fashion. I guarantee you, they got seamstress, the actual person who is the name on the actual fashion brand is not the person sewing the clothes. It's seamstress that you don't see that's actually helping to get the collection together. We are the workforce of the whole economy. We are literally the driving force of it. We are the driving force of it. Innovation and concepts and new technologies and different things, they may help to uh, open up a path for a new horizon within the economy. But the people that's going to actually bring that vision forward are middle class people. Now, you may say, well, oh man, they seem like they just working us and working us. Now, listen, there's an upside to this because we're using time for money. We're using labor for money as a means of exchange in some kind of way, or however, depending on what occupation you're in. You can use that as a good thing if you get the right information that is out there to know how to use it as a good thing. Using time for money uh, is always looked upon so negatively only because uh, the other side of the information is not always, they don't always expound upon that. They just tell you hurry up and just, you need to get away from that 9 to 5 job because you using time for money. You never gonna make it. It's like, come on, man. That's not the whole picture of it. I have to use time to write a book. I have to use time right now for this video or a blog or a website or any type of career move or education. You have to use time for that. But when you're understanding your plan, you're understanding that I'm exchanging my time for something that is going to propel me a lot further. I'm using time to get more material to be a bigger sale, right? I'm using my time to get more materials to build a bigger sale. So just because I'm the workforce doesn't mean that it's all negative. If you have the right information for what you're doing, you can start progressively growing into a higher plane where you get different benefits on a higher level. But the unfortunate reality is that we are the workforce. It's just how it is. Somebody created the company and gave you and me a job. Okay, I can deal with that. All right, moving on. The middle class, unfortunately, the middle class can never be wealthy. We can only be stable. Now, this statement is a very debatable thing because you're wondering, what do you mean you can't be wealthy? You can only be stable. In my opinion, I believe that I believe that middle class people can never be wealthy. We can only be stable because when you're on a middle class level, you are the workforce, you pay more taxes. Unless you take higher ground on a higher level, you can never become wealthy because there's too many obstacles and parasites on this level that eat away at your success the longer you stay on this level. It's just my opinion. So, in order to create wealth, in order to create generational long money, in order to create that, you need to be on a level. You need to place your assets and your values on a level where moths and parasites don't come in and take it, where thieves don't come in and steal it. You got to put it on a higher level. And unfortunately, middle class, just as a class, no matter if you're making 30,000 to 500,000, it's just not a level stable enough to keep thieves and parasites out of it. Now, what I mean about thieves It's like when you think about just the consumerism that's on the middle class, we're always buying the new this, the latest this, and many times we'll have several of the same thing. It's like, okay, if you got several of the same things, somebody's stealing from you that you don't know that they stealing because they don't look like a thief, you know. But you have parasites like that around all the time on the middle class. We can't get away from it. We have to move to higher ground. So middle class people, in my opinion, can never be wealthy. We can only be stable. I think that's a fair assertion. I'm not trying to be right. I'm just going based upon my observation. Uh, I would love for you to clap back in the comments. You know, tell me what you think. Do you think middle class can be wealthy, or do you agree with what I'm saying? You know, share down in the comments. You know, because I love to hear what you think. You know, but I'm just giving you my opinion because I'm your friend. All right. Last one. Middle class people, we always have to be adaptable thinkers. Middle class people, we always have to be adaptable because there in many instances you got taxes over here that's trying to take things from you. You know, you got parasites in different things over here that's trying to take stuff from you. You got constant barrage of sales and marketing and different things that's trying to take different things from you. So it's like we have always got to be adaptable when you're trying to fortify your life, when you're trying to create stability, which is one of the parameters of middle class living. We think about how to stabilize things. You know, we think about that. So it's like we have to be adaptable. You know, if you're working uh, at a company that when you look at the writing on the wall, you see that the company is going to be played out in a few years and another sector is coming up. As a middle class worker, we got to always be thinking, okay, I need to go and get this education or this certification to catch up with where the market is going, where technology is going, right? You know, if you're still trying to hold on to the job for whatever reason, I mean, you've been there for years or whatever, whatnot, if you're not anywhere near your goal in terms of having the money to sustain you throughout your life, then you got to be adaptable. You got to think, okay, when this here ship goes down, because I can already see the holes in the boat. You know, when this goes down, I got to be ready to have this lifeboat to get me over here to this boat because this boat is the new up and coming thing, right? But you will find that many middle class people, we don't like continuous learning. We don't like to be, we don't like to drop one level of education and pick up another level of education just so we can continue the lifestyle that we created. So this is for unfortunate things when it comes to the middle class. We pay more taxes. We are the workforce. We probably could never really be wealthy. I think on the middle class, you can be considered rich in certain instances, but not necessarily wealthy. You know, we can only be stable, you know, and I think that's a very honorable goal to get is stability because stability is not comfort, right? You know, stability is not comfort. They're similar, but they're two different things. You know, and I'll have to explain that later. You know, maybe somebody can explain it down in the comments. You know, the difference between being comfort and being stable. I know they're different. I just don't want to elaborate it on it right now because I don't feel like anyway. Okay, in middle class people, we got to be adaptable thinkers just because I'm good at being a truck driver. And it took years for me to get up to this level of being a truck driver. Before that, I was just a regular warehouse worker. You know, I did many of the things in truck, as far as a warehouse worker, drove forklifts. I was an order selector. I was a loader. Uh, Anything that was on that level, I never moved up to being a supervisor or middle management or anything like that because I didn't want to at that time, you know, and I didn't have the right mindset. But when I looked at myself as a regular warehouse worker, I can see the writing on the wall that warehouse workers made up to this amount working tremendously hard. Then I looked at Class 8 truck drivers make this amount, and you're not working nearly as hard. Only thing you're doing is a lot of driving. So I had to become adaptable and take the mindset of a person that didn't mind driving, that didn't mind going from this place to that place, driving 300 miles a day, that kind of person, to reach the goal that I saw that would put my family in a better financial position. So even though that, I feel like that was in the same genre of what I was working, I still saw the writing on the wall, and I had to be adaptable. I had to go and get the certification. I had to pass the class. I had to spend my first year, building up the credibility in that to get to where I am today. But nevertheless, I had to be an adaptable thinker. You will be amazed that what's holding back many of us in middle class is that we are not adaptable. We don't want to learn nothing else. We only want to complain about the state of things. If you're complaining about the state of things, it's obvious that you see the writing on the wall. You're just not willing to just accept that you see the ship going down. Because if it was all peaches and roses for you, what would there be to complain about? Phew. I'm blowing minds on this. I'm blowing minds on this. I'm just saying. Somebody's mind was blown. It might not be in yours, and I may not never meet the person, but yeah. Okay, let's get into like the purpose for the middle class. And you're not gonna believe this, the purpose of the middle class. The first one is to grow in success within your class. No matter what you hear people say, they say, the educational system train you to be a worker, and that's all they want you to do. They don't want you to be CEOs. They don't want you to be. It's like, hey, I get it. I totally understand. I get it. I get it. But the thing about humanity in a person's mind, you can only hold them down for so long. You know what I'm saying? At some point in time, there's gonna be a breakout. I mean, you can't stop it. You can't stop the breakout. So even if that was their intention, their negative intention, we can also use it for the good. So you got to be able to grow in success in your class, right? You got to be able to grow. The final one is the number one goal is to escape the middle class, get out of it. That's my goal. I'm making money on this level so that I can believe that there's more money than the money that I make on this level. And I'm a high income earner, but there's more out there. But I had to get to this point to believe for more. So in getting to this point, I realized that the main deep goals are to first be successful where you are. Stop being a complainer. Stop being a murmurer. Stop being a negative thought passer. If you, whatever you're doing, be the best. Be the kind of person that when you leave, they miss you, And the next is, we need to get off of this boat and get up to the next level, because it's only on the next level where you have higher ground. Hey, if that makes sense to you, hey, see me down in the comments, like and share. I want to continue to pour this type of information into regular working people that's still going, still getting after it. That's my family coming in, still getting after it. So like, share, see me in the next episode. Talk to you later. Bye. You come in.